Shalom, shalom, Miss Pacha. I know it has been a while since I have been on here, and that's actually for a reason. I have so much I want to share with you today, this Yom, and I won't be able to get to everything I want to share, I think, today, because I feel that there's some things about the gathering or the fleeing from Babylon that I've been receiving, and it's something that I think all of us must seek and search in the Word to get the full understanding of what will come, as much as our Yahuah will allow, right? I know that His Word does not conflict or does not go against itself, so I believe in this message, I want to give some Strong's Concordance words, some Hebrew words, Abari words, and basically read some scriptures. And at the end of this, if I have time, I want to share a dream and then a partial dream that I think kind of goes with this information. I'll try not to make it too long, but first I want to just start out by saying, in the story of Noah, I want to talk about this a little bit so that we can get a basis for the patience that he had, right, in preparing. So we know that in the story of Noah, it is said in the scripture that he was around 500 years old, and then when the flood came, it was around 600 to 620 years, basically about 120 years, the Bible roughly says, right? Don't quote me on it, but in Barashith, I think 5 and 7, where it talks about this, that he had about basically 100 to 120 years to prepare, right, the ark. And in that time, we know that he basically didn't have, the understanding of when exactly he was going to get into the ark and shut the door, and his family was going to be, when that day was actually going to come. But he was told to prepare. So I wrote this down, Noah was told to prepare the ark, the boat. It took about 120 years to accomplish. His family was only told to get on the ark at the end, right? So they were told to prepare, but didn't know when the flood would come. But they were obedient to what Yah instructed. So the second Exodus will be the same. Prepare and listen for the next instructions from Yahuah. So I think, just as the old times, we must consider that it will happen again, right? And yes, there are many of us that are, looking into fleeing Babylon now, right? Physically, getting out of here and going to other countries, right? And just getting out of this place. And there's so many things to consider, because what truly is Babylon? Where is Babylon? And where is the holy Zion, the holy mountain, right? We must know these things. But also, we must realize that the harlot, for better words, basically, the whore of Babylon, it is everywhere. The so-called CH Roman Church has made all the world drink of the fornication, right? And so you have false religions everywhere. And we're going to read, today about how we are not to worship stone or wood or any of these things, which, as you'll come to realize that the wood, worshiping of the wood, represents, in my opinion, the Christians, the Christians, because, which I was once one myself. They worship the cross, the wooden stake, right? They wear it around their necks. I used to wear one. But this is idolatry, so we do not do this. The true set-apart people, or the Kodash people, do not do this. And then you have the stone. There's a lot of people in this country, in all over the world, that worship the stone, right? Which is basically like, I believe, relates to Buddhism and Hinduism and all these things. And what I will do with what I just said was just think about Noah and how he had to prepare and be obedient. And he didn't know exactly the time that he was going to have to flee, but he had to prepare. Now, I feel that Yahuah is gathering us in this time already. Like, he is gathering us, and we're kind of going through the wilderness as we speak, spiritually. Because we are being, attacked in all kinds of ways. Our food is being poisoned. We can't eat certain things. We have to be obedient and to listen to his Ruach to avoid all these things. We're being attacked in every way possible. We're in a spiritual battle. They're trying to defile and kill us, murder us, basically, unalive us, I should say. And lots of people don't see this. A lot of people don't see. It's like the world is asleep for the most part, but those with eyes to see and ears to hear and know the scriptures will see these things. We will know. All right, so I want to read to you all, and then I have more to share. And forgive me if I'm, just kind of going all over the place, because I'm just doing this, the spur of the moment, because I just had it on my Ruach to give this to everyone. So, if we turn to Bereshith, Genesis 15, I'm going to read from 12 to 18. So, Bereshith 15, verse 12 through 18, and it says, "And it came to be, when the sun was going down, and a deep sleep fell upon Abram, that see, a frightening great darkness fell upon him. And he said to Abram, Know for certain that your seed are to be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. But the nations whom they serve I am going to judge, and afterward let them come out with great possession." So notice here in verse 14 it says, "But the nation whom they serve I am going to judge, and afterward," so after this judgment, "let them come out with great possession." So see, there's going to be a judgment, a war, an occurrence of something, just like in the times of our people coming out and away from Pharaoh. There was much affliction in that time. There was much pestilences and plagues, right? We must realize that Yahuah is going to deliver us out of all these things, but we must realize that we're going to have to go through some things. Let me just read on. So verse 15, "Now, as for you, you are to go to your fathers in peace, in shalom. You are to be buried at a good or tube old age. Then in the 4th generation they shall return here. For the crookedness of the Amorites is not yet complete. Right? The Amorites. Amarika. And it came to be when the sun went down and it was dark, that see, a smoking oven and a burning torch passing between those pieces. On the same day, Yahuah made a covenant with Abram, saying, I have given this land to your seed, from the river of Mitzrayim to the great river, the river of Euphrates. All right, so I'm going to stop there. And just wanted to show that in verse 14, there's a judgment, and then afterwards, you know, he will have us to come out with great possessions. Now, this is talking about the 12 tribes of Yasharal. This is talking about his people, right? All of the people will be gathered, Yasharal and Yehudah and all of it. But those of us that are joined, right, that are grafted in, that have accepted the covenant and have accepted Yahuah and Yahusha, we will be part of that, right? Now, there is a lot of confusion out in the internet right now where, you know, some of our people, even if they seem to know Yahuah and Yahusha and his name, they have done away with the New Testament or the renewed covenant, and they disagree with many parts of it, or they just throw away all of it, and you know, altogether. And they think that the only people are the people of color. They think that the only ones that are Yasharal and that we must cleave to them. Now, we must cleave and look up to Yasharal, but there is no difference between Greek nor Gentile, right? If they would understand the scriptures, they would know that, you know, Yahusha allows others to come and to be grafted in if you know, they are accepting of him and his name and his covenant, and to be obedient, you know. And it's just sad to see that so many are dividing, and it's still like there's this color war. And it's not about color. It's not about all those things, you know, and it's really sad to see that so many are fighting over who the true people are, which we know that the true people are of melanation, you know, they're of color. We know that they are the African tribes. But the Gentiles, the sojourners, they will be able to be grafted in, right? Is what I was trying to say. This is in the Word. But I also want to read now Yashayahu 26, verse 19 through 21. And it says, let your dead live together with my dead body. Let them arise, awake, and sing, you who dwell in the dust. For your dew is a dew of light, and let the earth give birth to the departed spirits, the departed ruach. Excuse me. And in verse 20 it says, go, my people, enter your rooms and shut your doors behind you. Hide yourselves, as it were, for a little while, until the displeasure is past. For look, Yahuah is coming out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth, the Arets, for their crookedness. And the earth shall disclose her blood, and no longer cover her unalived ones. So we see that there's going to be a day of reckoning. There's going to be a day where Yahuah puts his right hand to things. And so I also wanted to share with you now, we're going to turn to Ezekiel 20 verse 34, I believe. Let me see if I got it here. Yes. So I'm going to actually start at verse 32 of chapter 20 in Ezekiel. And it says, "And what comes up in your ruach shall never be, when you say, let us be like the nations, like the tribes in other lands, serving wood and stone." This is what people are doing right now. They're serving wood and stone. False idols and graven images. Verse 33. "As I live, declares the Master Yahuah, do not I, with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, and with wrath poured out, reign over you." Notice he says with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Okay? And wrath poured out, reign over you. Verse 34. "And I shall bring you out from the peoples, and gather you out of the lands where you are scattered, with a mighty hand and with an outstretched arm, and with wrath poured out." So we see here that he's going to do this, right? And with his right hand, which is Yahushua, he is going to do this with his outstretched arm and with wrath poured out. Meaning that there are going to be troubles. There are going to be things happening. As we are being delivered and saved, there is going to be chaos and war and all kinds of things happening. It's not going to be a time of peace. It's going to be a time of, just all kinds of things going on, right? So I have a few notes I wanted to share with everyone here. And now, this isn't in full, but I just wanted to share these things. We know that in I have a bunch of scriptures written down for the second Exodus here. There's so much, guys. There's so many verses. Like, there's so much in the Word that talks about, all of the aspects of being, gathered, fleeing from Babylon. He will bring us out. All these words, right? And some of them I'll share with you. One of them is H5127, which is nous, which is to flee or to escape. You'll find this in Yahuah 13:14. All right. Now remember that I believe, and you may also see it this way, that this really talks about the day of judgment. If you read Yahuah 13, I think a lot of these things could be happening at the same time. All right, and then I want to also share with you as I just read in Ezekiel, and I'll read it again, verse 20:34, it says, "And I will bring," which is H33818, which is bring is basically yasha, which means to go out, to come out, to exit, or to go forth. All right, so that word is bring. And in the verse it says this. I'll read it and then I'll give you the meanings. "And I will bring you out from the people." What is he going to do? He's going to bring us out from the people, and will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered, with a mighty hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out. Right? If you just read this verse, it's real clear that he will do both. You know, we're not here to say, well, we're going to be physically fleeing ourselves, or we're going to be gathered, or it's all of it. We have to understand the scriptures, that he is trying to show us the bigger picture of what the events will happen, and it's not going to be exactly like we think. This is the problem with a lot of us, is that we try to figure out everything that the Ruach is showing us before it's time. We need to be patient like Noah, and basically build that ark, build that, gather our families, and do all the things. Like right now, I'm basically getting my finances, getting my house in order, and praise Yah that he has given me in these last few days. I just did some back taxes where I thought I was going to owe a bunch of money, and I was obedient just to go and get it done. And now I'm getting money back. You know, it's not a whole lot, but but the whole point is that he provides for us. He does things for us if we are obedient to take the steps to prepare for what is coming. You know, I want to get my passport pretty soon here. It's not because I know for sure that I'm going to leave, but I want to be ready. I want to be ready for anything. And you know, I believe that the Holy Land, or I should say the Kodash land, not Holy, but the Kodash land really is, I believe, in Africa, right? Now, I don't know exactly all the geological locations. I have my understanding of what Yahuah has shown me, but as far as the timing goes, I believe that his right hand, that his timing is what I'm waiting for. And when he tells us to go, because I think what is going to happen is bigger than any of us could ever imagine. The second Exodus, the second gathering, the second fleeing from Babylon is going to be so huge, and it's going to be so much, it could even be televised. Let's just put it that way. But we will be delivered out of all of this. And we have to have emunah, belief, that Yahuwah's hand is not too short, that he will do all these things. So those words that again are bring, which is yasa or yasha, which is 33:18, Hebrews, or abarim 33:18, and the word gather is H6908, which is kabash or kabatz, which means to gather or assemble. Now, there's more definitions to these, everyone, but in the future, it would take me a long time. I'm trying to pray and pull out to Yahuah to do this, that I would like to basically go through all the scriptures that I've ever found on this subject, and not to give my own interpretation of it, but basically just to go over and let the Ruach HaKodesh speak to all of us as we come together, and just go over all these scriptures. You know, I want to do it professionally. I want to try to do it on a live, possibly on a, you know, and set up all the links with all the verses and everything. And, you know, pray for me on this, that I'll be able to do this. It's not by my power, but it's by the Ruach HaKodesh that we study to show ourselves approved, and that he will give us what we need in the time that we need it. Now, I know that he does this because there are times in the word, and I'm going to give you an example, when we think that, you know, the word says two different things, all right? But it really doesn't. Let me give you an example. So if you turn to Proverbs, I think it is Proverbs 2 or 3. Let me see, I wrote it down here. Yeah, actually, no. Proverbs 26, 4 and 5. Okay. Sorry, I'm dropping things in here. Okay, so let's turn to Proverbs. I'm using the ISR, by the way. Let's turn to Proverbs 26, and I'm going to read to you verse 4 and 5. Yes. And it says, do not answer a fool according to his folly. All right. But verse 4 says that. Now, let me actually start all over. Let me read 4 and 5 and 6, or 4 and 5, and see if you catch this. Verse 4, do not answer a fool according to his folly, lest you also become like him. Verse 5 says, answer a fool according to his folly, lest he become wise in his own eyes. So when you read this plainly, you could say, well, wait, Yahuah is telling me to not answer a fool according to his folly. And then in the very next verse, he's saying, answer a fool according to his folly. Now, is the word conflicting with itself? No. He's saying in these two verses that there are some times when there are situations, there's different types of fools, he's basically saying, or foolish, unwise people. There's times when he's telling us to not answer a fool when it is not right to do in that situation. But there's times when, maybe it's when, a closer brother or something, where he says to answer, right? And lest he become wise in his own eyes. So in other words, we have to self-evaluate and the scriptures, and we have to understand what is being said and rightly understand and divide the word and use it according to what he's saying, right? He's not conflicting here. He's just telling us that there's a time for saying something, there's a time for not saying something, but you have to figure out when that time is, right? And it's just like the analogy too, when I was going through learning of the Torah, I struggled with it when I was coming out of the world, and at first, and I wasn't fully understanding everything about the law, and that it hadn't been done away with. And there was a lot of writings in Paul's letters that confused me. And I had a quick moment of like, man, is the word saying something different against it? Like it's saying one thing here and it's saying another there. No, it was because I was not understanding. I was not getting full wisdom and understanding of what was being said. All right. And that's what a lot of people are doing now, is they're casting out Paul's writings because they don't understand. And that's why it's so important when we come to situations where it talks about fleeing or gathering, or it talks about foolish, the foolish person, and if we should, speak to a foolish person or not. The word always gives us the truth. The word is truth. But we are the ones that misinterpret it in our own minds because we don't have the Ruach HaKodesh at that moment to explain it to us. That's why we must read and seek and search diligently so that Yahuah will reveal it to us and give us that meat in that due season, right? And so I hope that example kind of helps everyone. So the whole purpose of this video was to say that I believe that, when it comes to, come out over my people, yes, a lot of that is spiritual. And we must physically come out also. But the timing of all these things, we have to get full understanding of. And that's why all of Scripture is important, because we know that there's a war coming. The red horse will come. And a lot of these things will be set off because of the bowls and the trumpets and all these things, the shofars. And there's things in the Yahuah's word that have to be done before the next thing comes, right? And right now, I believe that we are being tested, everyone. We are being, it's like, I feel in a major way that we are in the wilderness, you know, being tested right now. So now I want to share a few other things. And then the dream that I told you about. So we're about 30 minutes in, so I'm trying to do my best with getting this all out. Salaki, if I've said any unclean words, I haven't really been paying attention to that in this video because I've been just trying to get everything out that has been put on my heart. So I feel right now that we must be really paying attention to spiritual honesty. All right. I just had my taxes done by a gentleman that I feel was, you know, he's in many ways, he still has lots to learn, and he's not, I think, where he needs to be spiritually, of course, but he is very honest, and that's what, you know, we need to be as loving brothers, even to those that are not quite there where we are. We have to be loving to them as much as possible, because that's what this is all about, right? Yahushua came to give the commandments of his Father and to walk them out and to show us how to love others as ourselves, right? Putting Yah first and foremost and loving others as ourselves. You know, putting others first. All right, so on the same token, you can also see that there's a lot of people now that are doing dishonest gain, right? You know, a lot of corporations and things. There's just so much wickedness happening. It's hard to watch, honestly, but we know that all these things will be judged. All these things will come upon these people that do these things unless they repent, right? And even then, a lot of the hatah, sin that people do, will still be dished out in punishment to them. You know, a lot of people think that the moment that you repent, that, you know, everything is just going to go great and you're never going to be punished for anything. No, you're going to be tried and tested, and you're going to go through tribulations. This is scripture. So don't just think that you're going to escape everything. There is no like rapture escape where you're just going to escape everything unscathed and you're not going to get, you know, one scratch on you. That's not how it happens. That's not what the scripture says. So now, with all of that, I'm going to share this now, everyone. About 4 years ago, when I was in Hawaii, and I was really seeking and searching Yahuah, and he was just revealing so much to me about all the things that are happening with the COV and all that nonsense. He shared a dream with me, I feel, that I shared on my channel early on, but then I took it down because it involved my son, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to share it then. But now I feel it's time, because I want to get people's feedback from it. And I think I know more or less what it means. And I've held on to it because I really feel that it was an important dream that he gave me. I don't usually talk about my dreams. And then I will share another one after that, that are just a little part of it. So the dream I wanted to share with you all is this, that in this dream I was basically already looking down upon the earth, upon the Eretz, and I was in the understanding that I was safe. I was, I don't know how to explain it. It's like I felt like I was with Yahushua. I was with Yahuah. And I was basically given a vision of what was going to happen. And the first scene that I saw was this beach on like this island. And living in Hawaii, I thought, well, maybe it's, you know, where I was living. But I remember seeing this person walking on the beach, and I as I got closer, you know, like I was flying or whatever, I'm not even sure, but as I got closer, I realized that the person that was walking on the beach was my son. And I think he was in his, you know, age then, around maybe, you know, in his teens to his 20s. And I remember seeing him, and he was looking around, and he was really kind of confused and really wondering what's going on, and it was kind of like a lonely feeling that he had. And so my heart, you know, immediately, my lob was like saddened, because I was like, I didn't want my son to feel left out or left behind, like he didn't know what was going on with all the things that were happening in the world. And so as I was watching him on the beach, he was just looking around, and he was, you know, like, where is everybody and what's going on? And just as I was feeling that, the scene panned up to where I saw the top of the beach head, where there was, you could look on this city. It's kind of like a rural city, and there was trees and just people everywhere. You could see towns, and there was green trees and all kinds of, just like almost like everything was normal, you know. And then I started to see that actually there was, surrounding this town, or this island, or basically represents the world, I think, were these huge tanks and monster trucks. They were so huge that, like, they could run over buildings or something. And I think it was basically like they were basically like armies coming against everyone, right? Like the end times. And at this time, I didn't know, like, if my son knew that was happening, but this was happening at that same time. And then as they were revving up their engines and they were getting ready to just like destroy everyone, I felt like it was all planned. And these monster trucks, these tanks, these armies were going to destroy this country. They were going to destroy this island or whatever it was, where everyone was just seeming to be doing their normal things. But then as I was looking in the distance, I started to realize while those tanks were surrounding the island, there were these huge platforms in the sky. And they were just kind of sitting there floating. I'd say, you know, maybe a couple 100 feet off of, or even more, off of the ocean or off of the land. And they were just like huge platforms, like flat platforms that looked like arcs. And I remember thinking, like, what's going on here? You know, like, I saw these arcs, and there were multiple of them. But the people that were being brought to them were actually the ones that were being delivered and saved from what was happening, because all the things that were happening on the earth were basically just destruction, right? And so I then realized in my mind, I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm on one of these arcs, one of these things that are floating above the land. And so I remember knowing that there were people that were being transferred. I don't know how they were getting there, but they were being transferred from the arêtes, from the earth, up to these platforms. Now, the dream basically ended after that, and I was thinking to myself, okay, was this trying to imply like some alien invasion or something, or a rapture? And I didn't feel that way. I actually felt that it was like something, and even if it represented boats on the ocean or something, I don't know, but I felt in my mind that it was Yahuah's way of separating and preserving his people while he does the destruction to the wicked, lawless people of the earth. And so that's why I was saddened after the dream, because I was like, well, where does my son and my daughter stand in this? You know, where are they in all of this? You know, they're not up to the understanding that I am, as far as like having that relationship with the Most High. And that bothered me, and it still bothers me, because I want them to be saved and delivered. I want them to be counted, right, with Yahuah. And so I'm always praying for this, but this dream has always stuck with me, because I feel like it has to do with the gathering. It has to do with what we would call the second Exodus, right? Now, not saying that these ships or these things that we would be gathered to is how it's actually going to happen. I'm just saying that there was something happening in this vision, this dream, that showed me that it was beyond our ability. It was something that was going to happen, where we were going to be gathered out of it. We were going to be helped out of it, whether it's the angels, you know, carrying us to these platforms. I am not sure, but that's what I felt like. It's almost like the people that were chosen and are walking with Yahuah were already on these platforms. Okay, these arcs, whatever you want to call them. All right, so I hope I got that out. I know this video is getting a little long here, but I'll quickly share another little part of a dream. And I know I came across this the other day because I was looking through a bunch of my paperwork, and I had wrote this dream down on an envelope, and it was just highlights of it. It wasn't like really written down very well, but I'm not going to give the whole dream. But I basically remember seeing in this dream people gathering with me in this house. It was like a country house, and we walked outside, and we were kind of standing outside looking at the things coming upon the earth. And I think not everyone could see the same things, but I remember I looked up, and there was this white or clear dragon type of thing that flew over and through the clouds. And it was huge. It was so huge. And it was basically going through the sky and through the clouds. And I pointed to it, and I said to the other people there, I said, "Do you see that? There it goes. There it goes. You know, there's something up there." And they just looked at me like, "What are you talking about? Like, I don't see anything." And it was like I was the only one that could see this massive dragon or angel or something, right? This dragon messenger or something in the sky that was flying. And I knew it was there. I knew it was basically making its rounds and probably hunting out people. And there's more to this dream, but I just wanted to say that what really stood out to me in this dream, this short dream, was that there's going to be things that some of us will see and others will not, right? And what's really odd or really interesting is that just a few months ago, you see all these things about drones and things, and you have these fires that happen in LA and other places where there were these little black or white entities flying through the sky. And when I saw those things, I don't know if it's real or not, but that's what I thought of was my dream. I thought, wow, there's going to be people that understand the times that we're in, and they're going to see these things, and they're going to realize we're in the end times. And there's going to be others that will see it, and they'll explain it away to, you know, CGI or something else, and they're not going to understand that the times that we are in. So I, in a way, maybe was seeing in my dream the things that were actually coming, because it wasn't very much longer when I started to see these things on TV. Like, there's literally videos now of these things flying in the sky. So there are many things happening, everyone. I just wanted to share these few little dreams with you. And regardless of what happens, I feel that something major is coming. You know, I could go into all the things that I've looked at as far as how they're trying to control people's minds, and they're trying to do all kinds of things that, you know, technology that is beyond anything we could even imagine. But I don't want this to be too long and get into all kinds of different subjects. So I believe that we are in such a spiritual battle right now, and it's so important for us to focus on Yahuah and Yahusha and his Dabar, his word, and just really prepare ourselves like Noah did. Really prepare our houses, which we are the Hekal. We are the temple, right? We are the ones that Yahuah has chosen to put his Ruach in, and to basically, you know, like he's gathering his people already. I feel he's already, you know, placing his name and giving his Shabbat to people to follow, and teaching them through his Ruach all of these things. And it is so Yahuah, so beautiful. And we know that there are some very dark times coming, but we will overcome, and we will make it out of this as long as we are in Yahuah and Yahusha, and we just don't veer to the right or the left. That's the main thing, everyone, is that we must stay in obedience. The world is not in obedience, and they don't know him, a majority of people, but we must stay in the truth, because that's the only thing that will get us out of this, you know, all the things that are coming upon this world. So with that, everyone, I'm going to end this video. I hope this was beneficial. I'm not saying that you have to believe anything that I say here. I'm just giving what I'm receiving at this moment, and I'm going to study more and try to do a bigger you know, study on the subject of the second Exodus, the gathering, the fleeing Babylon, and all these things, if it's Yahuah's will, and if I can do it in a way that is you know, right in his eyes, because that's what I really care about. I don't want to give anyone an opinion to where they go and they start to do something, and then that's not what Yahuah is telling them to do, right? We have to be careful when we are teaching and showing people things, that we are not, you know, saying something wrong or misleading something, because we ourselves could have something not fully understood in our minds. And that's why it's so important for us to first seek the kingdom of Yahuah, and then he will add all these things to us, right? He will give us the understanding. All right, everyone. So that, with that being said, I pray that I pray that, you know, Yahuah will barak you and keep you and help you to overcome all the things that are coming. In the mighty name of Yahuah, let it be so. Shalom.